What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is your review for 90 Day Fiancé. Excuse me. What season are we on? Season 8, episode 5. So we start off with Brandon and Julia. Listen, I don't like this situation with Brandon and Julia, okay? Because I'm really giving the parents a whole side eye. At first I thought that the daddy was kind of halfway decent, but the mama was the one really tripping. But now I'm kind of looking at both of them with a side eye. First of all, Brandon goes to work and Julia sleeps in, and as soon as she wakes up, because the parents, they go to work too. So it was just Julia on the farm with the lady that had the hairless cat, right? And she was like, "Oh, I'm glad you're finally up. It's time for us to feed the animals." Now, first of all, they make a big deal about her feeding these animals and how, the animals have been waiting on her to wake up. And I'm like, girl, what were y'all doing before Julia got there? Weren't them animals getting fed while all three of them people left for work? Isn't that your damn job? It's your job to feed those animals. Why you waiting till, if the animals are used to eating at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it is noon, you gonna prove a point, so you gonna wait, you gonna make the animals wait until Julia get up out of the bed? Now here's the thing, I understand about earning your keep, and that they live on the farm, and I get all of that, but I really feel like they are treating this girl like the hired hand. And I really feel like they brought her over here just for her to work for them, because just the whole attitude that the woman had about the whole situation really made me kind of give all of them a side eye. Like, I told you how I felt when she got there that first day, and instead of letting her get acclimated, relax, the girl is still jet lagged. I mean, y'all have had her boom, 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 boom since she got to America. Y'all be acting like people just took a 2-hour flight from Atlanta to New York or something like that, and that they good to go. This woman has traveled across the damn pond, okay? She needs some time. She needs a couple of days to get herself together and get acclimated, okay? Look. I don't agree with everything that be coming out of Julia's mouth. Let's be clear. But I do agree with some of what's coming out of Julia's mouth. And I felt some kind of way about that whole situation with them having her feeding them damn farm animals. And she's never been on a farm before. Like, I know if it were me, it would take a lot for me, because I ain't never been on no farm, lived on no farm before either, and I don't do animals, especially them big ass pigs that they got running around, hogs that they got running around, and she got to get in the pen to feed them. I'd be running too. Y'all act like this is just natural for everybody, and everybody is used to this. Don't nobody listen. That is not the norm. Okay? To be getting up at the crack of dawn and feeding animals. That's just not what the average person does. Okay. And when you are on a farm, that means you were probably born there and you were used to that. Moving on. So then we have later on in the episode. Brandon gets home from work, honey. Brandon goes right in his room and he starts getting himself together for dinner. And, Julia was like, Brandon get home from work. I've been here by myself all day. And he goes straight to his room like, did he forget about me already? And I feel like he kind of did. I feel like he was on autopilot and he really did forget her ass was there. Because why wouldn't you go in and say, hey, babe, how was your day? Good evening. Hello. Good morning. Like, nothing. And then she goes in there to talk to him, to tell him how bad her day was and how she didn't like feeding the animals on the farm. And he was just like, oh, I really hope you get used to it. I really hope you get used to it. I'm sitting here telling you that I don't like it. I'm sitting here telling you that this is not something I want you to get used to. Then he talking about something, we have to go to dinner. She was like, go to dinner. So my thing is, you ain't go over that with her. You didn't let her know that y'all was going to dinner. Like, literally, y'all left 30 minutes later. And you walked in the door and started getting dressed for dinner. And didn't even give her the courtesy of telling her, we going to dinner with my grandfather. Anyway, so they get to dinner. And the granddaddy is older. And listen, I'm going to give the granddaddy a pass because he made some comments that I know some people might have an issue with about Russian women coming over here, trying to lure them in, want to get pregnant, and try to get a baby. Listen, you have to remember this man is 85 years old. Okay? He grew up all through the cold era. the Cold War era, I should say. He grew up in a time where Russia was the enemy. And there were Russian spies everywhere. And they were taught that this was communism and this, and this, and that. I mean, this is what they were taught. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass because I really feel like that's just how he grew up. That's just how he grew up. But he was pleasant. He wasn't rude to her. He wasn't, he was really nice to that woman. I mean, to Julia, and very pleasant. So then, they start talking about the day that they plan to get married. Now, they came up with their wedding date for May the 4th. Well, that's Mother's Day weekend. May 9th, whatever. And that's Mother's Day weekend. Girl, why they do that? The mama was not here for it at all, in any way, shape, or form. Mama was not here for them getting married on Mother's Day. And they kept saying, well, we think the next weekend will be better. And what they explained that was the first time they had a real conversation that's the anniversary of when they started dating, I guess. And so the date meant something for them. It wasn't just some day they pulled out of the sky. And she was like, well, Mother's Day is just a really big holiday here in the United States. And, I mean, I just don't think y'all should get married on my weekend. And then they tried to flip it and was like, well, when you guys get older and you have kids, you're not going to want to celebrate your anniversary on the same weekend. And for once, Brandon put his foot down. For once, Brandon said, listen, that's what Julia wants. That's what we're going to do. And even then, the grandfather was like, okay, well, May the 9th. And they were like, don't lock that in. Don't lock that in. I was like, you better lock it in because she done already told you that's when she get married. Now, y'all ain't got to be there, but she done said that's when the wedding taking place. Now, I don't know. That's what she said. Shout out. Anyway. So, I'm just giving all of them a little. And the dad was like, no, that's not a good day. That's not a good day. And I was just like, okay. So, then we got Stephanie and Ryan. Now listen, y'all. Stephanie is meeting with her two cousins. Now, I'm going to give Stephanie credit. Stephanie is advertising her business as much as she's talking about this man that she's taking care of, okay? But she is definitely advertising her business, and I can't even be mad at her about it. I ain't mad at all about it. So, we find out that she is not only taking care of Ryan financially, but she is paying all of the family's bills. She says since COVID, she's been paying their rent. She's been buying their groceries. She has been doing all of the above. All of the above. I said, and her family was like, so you paying all their bills? Then we find out that she even went so far as to get her friend who owns a resort down in Belize, to hire him, and she's paying his salary because for real, with everything going on with COVID, they really don't need him. But she got her friend to hire him so she could pay his salary so it wouldn't look like she was taking care of him. But girl, you are. And you're probably giving him more money by paying his salary than if you just send him a few dollars here and there. Because let's be clear, you're paying his salary and you are still sending him money. So you might as well just send the man money and just let him not have a damn job. I mean, if he a kept man, he a kept man. Like, let's not pretend like you taking care of nothing. Anyway, moving on. Jovi and Yara. Listen. Here's another situation where Yara really irritates me and I really don't want to like Yara. But then Jovi, you be doing stuff that make me give you the side eye too. So they are in New Orleans. They invite, they ordered some stuff for the apartment and the rug came in. That same rug that he hated at the store, she done ordered almost the same damn rug for the apartment. And now she's telling him that the rug is white. So now she's telling him he has to start taking his shoes off before he comes in the house. And he was like, why do I have to do that? I just want to walk on the rug. I mean, that's just nasty. Over in Europe, we don't wear our shoes in the house. We don't bring outside. You walk all over the street in your shoes, and then you come in the house and you walk all over the house. And he was like, look. Then she talking about some people piss on the street. He was like, nobody's pissing on the street. Yes, they do in New Orleans. Listen. I have smelt it. They do all kinds of stuff on the street in New Orleans, Jovi. Don't play. Down in the French Quarter. Stop acting like that. But, so then they got to arguing about that. So then he said, I got what you would give, you know, because I'm getting ready, you know, he's getting ready to leave for work. So he bought her a new iPhone. So, of course, she was happy. She was fussing at him before. She was talking about how much she hated New Orleans and how dirty New Orleans. She called New Orleans a dirty village. She said that she thought she was going to come to America and be best friends with Kim Jenner and Kylie and live in a penthouse, but instead she's in dirty New Orleans, girl. I said, you know what? She was like, sorry to the people of New Orleans, but I don't like your city. Anyway, so later on in the episode, child, they end up going out. He's taking her out to dinner before he leaves, and he said, you know, my mom said that she would come and check on you. Now, she seemed to have been okay with the fact that they were leaving, that he was leaving and that he was going to be gone. I guess they had already argued about that, so she had kind of moved on and moved into a better place by that. So then, then they got to talking about having kids and stuff. And this is where the conversation got real nasty, or real dark, I should say. Now, we know she had a miscarriage. We had already talked about that. Well, come to find out, when she had the miscarriage, she was in another country, and she ended up having to have a surgery. Now, I don't know what kind of surgery. They didn't go into any details. But Jovi left for work. While not only was she in the hospital, but she didn't have a passport. And he was like, well, it's not my fault you lost your passport. I mean, it's not my fault you lost your passport. Like, you lost your passport. That wasn't my fault. Now, Jovi's side of the story was he did have to go to work, and he does admit that he made a bad decision. He said, but he did not leave her in the hospital. He said that happened after he left. He said he did leave her because she lost her passport and he had to get back to work. But he did not leave her in the hospital. Like, that's not how it went down. Now, I don't know who's telling the truth, but I do know that when a woman loses a child, it is a very emotional situation. And she feels like, you know, after you did that to me, I just don't feel like I can trust you anymore. Like, I just don't feel like I can trust you anymore after you did that, you know. And she said, you know, the type of job you have, you're just basically going to leave me abandoned. Like, you're gone all the time. And Jovi was like, I mean, my dad worked on boats all the time. And, I mean, my dad had a similar schedule than what I have. And my mom raised me and we did fine. Like, my dad was there when he was there. My mom took care of, you know, like, it's not like I'm abandoning her. But, you know, ultimately, you know, she wasn't here for it. And she got very emotional and, you know, everything. And she was just like, you know, I just don't trust you. I still have not. Basically, she still hasn't gotten over what he did, and she doesn't trust that if she gets pregnant again, that he won't leave her. You know, and I understand. Like I said, I don't know the whole timeline. She said that that's not true. That the doctor told her that things were bad, and he left anyway. He's saying you were fine. You just didn't have your passport, and I had to get to work, so I left you. So I mean, whatever the real story is, it does sound like Jovi probably could have made a different decision. I mean, I know you have to go to work, but everybody gets sick leave. If you tell your boss that, hey, my girlfriend just had a miscarriage, I need to stay here for a couple of days, we're stuck in Albania because she can't find her damn passport, I just feel like there's a whole different vibe. But that's my 2 cents. Anyway, Mike and Natalie. So, child, Mike and Natalie, listen. Mike is still showing Natalie around. He has to go to work the next day. They're out by the pond feeding the fish and stuff. And I feel like he happened to find an old firework that he had. And he was like, hey, I got some fireworks. You want to light them? And she was like, no, we're too close to the fish. You know, you can kill the fish. That noise can kill the fish. Mike was like, ain't nobody killing the fish. I do this all the time. What's the big deal? And she was like, Mike, I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to do it because I think you're going to hurt the fish. And I don't want to hurt the fish. And Mike was like, we're not gonna hurt the fish. So he lights the firework, and I don't know, like, again, why he lit the firework, I have no idea. But he was like, you know, this is the advantage, you know, of living out in the middle of nowhere. Like, you could do stuff like this, and it's no big deal. It's not a problem. Child. What he do that for? She was so upset. She even complained to her friend about it, that he doesn't listen to her, and she, borderline calling him mean because, he did that and he was going to hurt the fish, and why would he do that to hurt the fish? Then we saw her, trying to make good time cleaning the house and stuff. Child, the poor thing didn't know how to use the washer and dryer. She was getting ready to use the fabric softener, use the bleach, thinking it was fabric softener. And the whole time I'm watching this scene with her thinking that, oh, this is the fabric softener. Oh, this is good. This is good. And I really hope that they filmed the scene, but they stopped her before she actually put that bleach in there. Because all I kept thinking was, now y'all behind that camera know good and daggone well that ain't no damn fabric softener. Before she tear up all of Mike's clothes with that bleach. Can somebody stop her? Can somebody stop her? But she ended up not doing it, and I feel like they cut the camera and told her, listen, girl, we went on and got our scene, but don't you put that bleach in that washing machine, because you about to tear all of this up. I feel like they told her. But anyways, so Mike ends up taking her away for the weekend. This, I guess, somewhere that she had been wanting to go. So they end up going. He gets a room at the hotel down wherever they went. And they go out to dinner that first night. And, Natalie is a vegetarian. Mike is not. Natalie orders scallops. Mike orders the steak. And she proceeds to talk about his food the entire dinner. Let me tell you what I can't stand. I can't stand for somebody to talk about my food. You don't have to like what I'm eating. You don't have to eat what I'm eating. But don't sit there and talk about my food. And I get it that you're a vegetarian, and I get it that you don't like the fact that he eats meat. But the whole time, she was like, first she said somebody had to die for you to eat. He was like, somebody? She was like, yeah, somebody had to die for you to eat. He was like, okay. Oh my gosh, it's so disgusting. I can't believe you're doing that. It's so disgusting. And he was like, listen, I've been a meat eater my whole life. I like meat. Leave me alone. He was like, I eat vegetables, I eat all that other stuff, but I like my meat. So then she was like, well, can you do a meat challenge with me? Can we do 1 week on, 1 week off? He was like, okay, I can do that, sure. And he was like, I don't mind compromising. I don't mind compromising with her, a little bit or whatever. If that's going to help her feel better about me eating meat every other week, that's fine, whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, as long as she stopped talking about your food when you do eat it, let her stop, as long as you stop talking about the food. Because that's the problem. Like, why are you talking about my food? So then they go to, it was like a waterfall there. So then they go to their waterfall and all that good stuff. Then they go out to dinner again. Why Mike done ordered some nachos with meat on it? She was like, I thought you weren't going to eat meat. You were going to do the challenge with me. He was like, yeah, starting next week, right? She said, no, we were supposed to start today. He was like, okay, so this will be my week where I eat meat. Next week I won't eat meat. She was like, no, today. He was like, yeah, today I'll eat meat. And then next week I won't eat any meat. And then the week after that I'll go back to eating meat. And she was like, you promised me you would start today. He was like, I am. But this is going to be my week where I eat meat. Child. So then she asked him about getting married. And he was like, I'm not ready for that yet. Like, I'm not ready to make that decision. We still have a lot of stuff we need to work through, But then they got a root beer float, and she doesn't really drink alcohol. So he was eating the root beer with her, the float, they were sharing it. And she kept saying, it's beer, it's alcohol, it's beer. He was like, no, they just call it root beer, but it's not alcohol. He was like, I'm telling you, it's not alcohol. I went and, like, I'm not lying. It's not alcohol. And she didn't believe him, and she stopped eating it. And he was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. She's got to learn to trust me. She's got to learn to trust me. So that's Mike and Natalie. So last but not least, we have Tariq and Rose. So it's her first day. He takes her out for like a good old American breakfast because, she eats a lot of rice. And usually for breakfast, she eats rice. So he takes her out for pancakes, waffles, French toast, eggs, bacon. Like, I feel like he was trying to introduce her to the whole breakfast menu at one time. So the French toast came and he was showing her, yeah, go ahead, put some syrup on it, do this, do that. And she tasted it and she was like, this is too sweet. This is too sweet. And she was like, I'm gonna get fat living here in America, girl. You are. Especially you got Tariq taking you for meals like that, got you eating meals like that. So he tells her that, he wants to take her to a venue to show her to get where he wants to get married. And she was like, well, I want to get married in a church. And he was like, well, I don't go to church. This is like my church. And she was like, yeah, but I want to get married in a church. She was like, my parents want me to get married in a church. And he was like, well, your parents aren't here. And I thought that was rude. Because I feel like you're taking her away from her family, her child, and she's just telling you, listen, I want to get married in a church. So I didn't look at before the 90 days, but I guess when he was over there on before the 90 days, they went to her church. And it looked like it would be the equivalent of what, like, I guess a Pentecostal church would be here. People were speaking in tongues. People were shouting and all of that. And it can be daunting for that to be your first experience in a church under normal circumstances, but for you to be in a foreign country and they're speaking in foreign languages, I'm sure that was a little off-putting as well. But Rose was just like, I really wish he would chill out. Like, I just got here, like, I've literally been here one day and he's already talking about getting married, and I really wish he would just kind of chill out a little bit. It's been a lot. I'm getting away from my family, my son, and I just need a day. Like, give me a minute. Like, I know y'all only have 90 days, but that is 3 whole months. Do we have to have this conversation on day 1? Then he was saying, my daughter will be here tomorrow. And so, of course, she's nervous about meeting his daughter. And then you add the fact that his daughter has autism. And he told her, he said, well, it can be a little challenging sometimes, but my daughter's a sweetie, and I'm sure that she's going to like you. And that's what he's saying to her, to her face. But in his confessional, he was like, I am worried about my daughter and her getting along, because if the two of them don't get along, yeah, it's a wrap. Like, that's a wrap if the two of them don't get along. And she said the same thing. She was like, if the two of us don't get along, I'm worried that that's really going to be the end of our relationship. So then they leave breakfast, and Tariq takes her to the center where he wants. And it's a center that was started by a psychic. And Tariq made it seem like it's just a place where people who are enlightened go. People who have enlightened. I know we do have one more couple, I'm sorry. But people who are enlightened go. And she was just like, so they went, and she was just like, yeah, no, I'm not feeling this. Like, I don't want to get married here. And he was still like pushing her to get married there. And she was just like, I don't want to get married here. No. And he kept wanting to, like, well, let me show you this. Well, let me show you that. Well, let me show you this. Well, let me show you that. And I'm like, I don't know how many different ways you want her to say no. Like, I feel like she was pretty clear. Anyway. Now, last but not least, our final couple, we have Rebecca and Zaid, I believe his name is. So Rebecca is moving into her new apartment. Now, she decided against moving in with with her daughter and her daughter's fiance, because I'm sure she foresaw a whole lot of problems, right? Now, she said that her stuff has been in storage because her apartment she was living in was a lot smaller than the apartment she had before that. So a lot of her stuff was in storage. And so she said, I haven't had time to get everything out of storage and set the place up. So I'm a little worried about what he's going to think when he gets here. Girl, they go to that apartment. It looks like one of those buildings that used to be like a warehouse that they made apartments out of. So it's got a really open plan. The ceiling, those really, really high ceilings and all of that. It looked like it's probably a really nice one if you're into that, like, that like funky, bare exposed brick wall and that open plan stuff. And but she said, I'm really worried. She said, I've been pulling my stuff out of storage a little at a time. She said, but at this point, basically all I have is a bed on the floor, some dishes and some dishes. But I really do think this is a better option than moving in with my daughter, which probably is. She said, the only thing I'm worried about is I did live in this building before with my ex-husband, and I'm worried about what he's going to think when he finds out this is where I used to live with my ex-husband. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, why he got to know? Like, I don't understand why he has to know. Like, he doesn't have to know. If it's going to be that big of an issue, it ain't like you and your ex-husband are still cool and you and your ex-husband are still friends. Like, it doesn't, maybe it's me. Like, I understand about being honest, but some things you just don't need to tell people. And I feel like that's one of them things you just don't need to tell nobody. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, y'all. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so, then we see Zaid on the other side saying goodbye to his family, getting on the plane. And she was like, well, I don't know if he's going to get on the plane because I know how upset he is about leaving his family and how nervous he is about leaving his family. So I'm just not sure if he's going to get on that plane. But he got on the plane, child. Anyway, that's pretty much what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.